She disappeared from my life for 2 years. Then she showed up on a rainy night. My name is Mark. I'm 32 years old, and I want to tell you a story I've never told anyone. A story about a woman named Sofia, how I fell in love with her, how I nearly lost her forever, and what happened the night she knocked on my door again. If you've ever loved someone so much it scared you, you'll understand every word of this. It all started 3 autumns ago, in a small coffee shop on a corner in downtown Portland. I just moved to the city after my parents' divorce, after losing my job, after a string of events that forced me to start my life over from nothing. I was empty. I came to that coffee shop every morning, not because I loved coffee, but because I had nowhere else to be. I'd order an Americano, sit by the window, and watch the city wake up without me. Sofia worked there as a barista. I didn't notice her right away. She wasn't the kind of girl who greeted everyone with a loud, "Hi," the moment they walked in. She was quiet, focused, a little guarded. But when she made coffee, she had the most graceful hands I'd ever seen, steady, calm, like every movement mattered. 2 weeks passed before she said anything to me beyond taking my order. "You always sit in the same spot," she said, setting my cup down. "Is that some kind of ritual?" I looked up, surprised she'd even noticed me. "I guess it is," I said. "It's the only place in this city where I don't feel like a stranger." She lingered for a second, like she was weighing whether to keep talking. Then she sat down across from me, even though the shop was full, and she had work to do. "I used to feel like a stranger everywhere, too," she said quietly. "It fades. Slowly, but it fades." We talked for 40 minutes that day. She told me she'd moved here from a small town in Ohio, that she was studying architecture at night school, working days at the coffee shop to pay her tuition. I told her about my parents' divorce, about the job I'd lost, about the emptiness that had settled in me over the past months. She didn't try to comfort me with empty phrases. She just listened, and that was exactly what I'd been missing. We started spending time together, as friends, at first. She'd show me the old buildings downtown, talking about architectural styles, with such excitement in her eyes that I started seeing those buildings the way she did. We'd walk at night once the streets had emptied out, and she'd point out cornices, archways, details I'd never noticed. "People walk past these buildings every day and never see them," she'd say. "I cannot see them. Every brick here has a story." "You have a story, too," I said one evening as we sat on the steps outside an old brick church downtown. "But you never talk much about yourself." She was quiet for a long time, looking up at the moon. "My story isn't a pretty one, Mark," she finally said. "I'm scared that if I tell you everything, you'll look at me differently." "Try me," I said. "I'm not going anywhere." So she told me about her father, who drank and took his anger out on the whole family. About her mother, who endured it silently for years. About how Sofia left home at 17 with one suitcase and promised herself she'd never let a man control her life, never depend on anyone the way her mother had depended on her father. "That's why I keep my distance," she said. "It's not that I don't like you. It's that when someone starts mattering too much to me, I panic." That night, I understood for the first time that I wasn't just falling for her smile or her eyes. I was falling for her strength, hidden underneath all that quiet. For the way she fought her own past every single day, and still showed up to work with a calm, steady face. I took her hand. She didn't pull it away. "I'm not trying to control you, Sofia," I said. "I just want to be near you." The next few months were the happiest of my life. We became a couple that winter. Sofia started opening up more, laughing louder, letting herself be vulnerable around me, sharing her plans for the future. She dreamed of opening her own architecture firm, restoring old buildings, giving them new life instead of tearing them down for concrete boxes. I started a new job, office manager at a small tech company. Not my dream career, but the stability I needed. We moved into a small apartment together on the edge of town, cramped, with a leaky faucet and a neighbor who played trumpet every night at 10. But for us, it was paradise. We cooked dinner together, argued over little things like who forgot to buy milk, and fell asleep wrapped around each other while it rained outside. But even then, I could feel it. Underneath her calm, there was still fear. Sometimes, when I was an hour late from work, she'd greet me with a tense, silent look. Sometimes when I said we should, she'd stiffen, like those words reminded her of her father, who also used to think he should control every move her mother made. I tried to be patient. I thought love and time were enough to heal any wound. I was wrong. Everything started falling apart that spring, when Sofia was offered an internship at an architecture firm in another city, 3 months, with the possibility of a permanent position if she impressed them. It was the kind of opportunity she'd been dreaming about for years. "I have to go," she told me over dinner. Her eyes lit up with hope for the first time in a long while. "Of course," I said, even though something inside me tightened. "You have to take this chance." But when it came time to say goodbye at the train station, I couldn't hold back my own fear. "What happens to us?" I asked, holding her hands. 3 months is a long time. And what if they offer you a permanent job? Her face changed instantly. The warmth disappeared, replaced by something cold and guarded. "You're already trying to control my decision," she said quietly but sharply. "I haven't even left yet, and you're already talking like I have to choose between you and my career." "That's not what I said," I shot back, feeling my own irritation rise. "I'm just worried about us." "You're worried about yourself," she said. "You're afraid I'll become someone important without you around." Those words hit harder than she probably realized. I felt something in me shut down. "You know what, Sofia? Go. Just go," I said coldly and turned away. She left that same evening without a goodbye kiss. For the first month, we still texted short, formal messages. "How are things?" "Fine, busy with work." "I miss you." But little by little, the messages got shorter and less frequent. Each of us waited for the other to make the first move toward reconciliation. I stayed proudly silent, telling myself I hadn't done anything wrong. I was just worried. But deep down, I knew the truth. I'd said out loud the exact fear she'd carried her whole life, the fear that the man she loved would try to hold her back. By the second month, the silence was total. No messages at all. I checked my phone every day, hoping to see her name on the screen, and every day I was disappointed. Friends told me to call first, to apologize, to show her I'd changed. But my pride, the same pride that had cost me plenty of things before, wouldn't let me take that step. Near the end of the 3rd month, I found out from a mutual friend that Sofia had been offered a permanent position in that city. She was staying. That night, I drank more than I ever had in my life, and cried harder than I had since I was a kid. 2 years passed. I moved out of that apartment. Staying somewhere everything reminded me of her was unbearable. I changed jobs, tried dating other women, but I compared each of them to Sofia every time, and every time the comparison wasn't in their favor. Not because they were worse people, just because none of them were her. I started going to therapy, admitted for the first time in my life that my pride and my fear of losing control of the situation had destroyed the best thing that had ever happened to me. My therapist helped me understand something important. I demanded trust from Sofia that I hadn't given her myself. I was so afraid of losing her that my own words pushed her exactly toward the thing I feared, losing her. I started writing her letters I never sent, just to get it out, to admit to myself how wrong I'd been. About 1 year and 7 months after she left, I saw a photo on social media, Sofia at the opening of her own small architecture project, a restored building in her new city. She was smiling, surrounded by colleagues. She looked happy, real, fulfilled. I was genuinely glad for her, even as my chest ached with the pain of it. I didn't leave a comment. I just closed my phone and promised myself I'd let her go, for good this time. I thought that was the end of our story. It happened 2 years and 2 months after she left. I was home alone, rain hammering against the windows, the same way it had the night we first met at the coffee shop. I was getting ready for bed when the doorbell rang. I wasn't expecting anyone. When I opened the door, I forgot how to breathe for a second. Sofia stood on the porch, soaked to the bone, a suitcase beside her, shaking, whether from the cold or her nerves, I couldn't tell. "Hi, Mark," she said quietly, her voice trembling. "I know this is unexpected. I know it's been a long time, but I had to see you." I stood there, unable to say a word, my heart pounding so hard I was afraid she could hear it. "Come in," I finally said. "You're soaked." She stepped inside, and we stood in silence in the living room for a long moment, neither of us knowing where to start. Finally, she spoke first. I got everything I dreamed of, she said, staring at the floor. My own project. Recognition. The independence I'd wanted my whole life. And you know what I realized? I stayed quiet, waiting. I realized that being independent and being alone aren't the same thing, she continued, tears welling in her eyes. Every night, coming home to an empty apartment, I thought about you. About our arguments over stupid little things. About how badly you cook. About how you always left the bathroom light on. I smiled through my own tears. I thought you hated me for what I said at the station, I said. I didn't hate you, she said. I hated that you said my biggest fear out loud. But that didn't mean you were completely wrong, Mark. I really did run, not just from my father back then, but from you too. That day at the station. I ran because you were right. I was afraid that closeness meant losing myself. It took me 2 years to understand, real closeness doesn't take you away. It adds to you. We sat down on the couch, and for the first time in a long while, we talked honestly, the way we should have talked before she ever left. I should have apologized to you that day at the station, I said. Instead of saying my fear out loud like an accusation, I should have said, I'm scared of losing you because I love you. Instead, what I said sounded like control. It took me 2 years of therapy to understand that. You went to therapy too? She asked, surprised. Yeah. I had to understand why I reacted so badly to your independence. Turns out I was scared too. Scared that if you became successful without me, you wouldn't need me anymore. So I grabbed for control instead of trust. Sofia took my hand. For the first time in 2 years, I felt her touch. We were both scared of the same thing in different ways, she said. You were afraid of becoming unnecessary. I was afraid of becoming dependent. And both fears led us to lose each other. So why did you come back now? I asked quietly. She took a deep breath. Because last week they offered me a leadership position at the firm, permanent, for good, in that city. And instead of feeling happy, I felt panic. I realized I was building a life with no room in it for you, and that feeling was the worst thing I'd felt in 2 years. I realized independence without you isn't freedom. It's just a different kind of loneliness. But I knew, and she knew, that one conversation, no matter how honest, couldn't undo 2 years of pain and mistrust overnight. Sofia, I want to trust you, I said honestly. But part of me is scared that in a few months we'll be right back where we started. That I'll say the wrong thing again and you'll run again. She nodded, accepting my honesty without taking offense. That's a fair fear, she said. I'm scared too. Scared that the old panic will come back once things get serious again. But this time I want to try fighting that fear instead of running from it. I want us to see a therapist together if we need to. I want to learn to stay, even when it's scary. And I want to learn to trust without needing to control, I added. I want to learn to support your ambitions instead of being afraid of them. We sat quietly for a long time, holding hands, letting ourselves feel just how fragile this thing being reborn between us still was. You know what scares me the most right now, she suddenly said. What? That I came here too late. That you've already let me go for good, and I'm just here causing you more pain by showing up. I looked her straight in the eyes. Sofia, I never really let you go. I just learned to live with the pain. But every morning, waking up, I thought about you. Every love song on the radio reminded me of you. I wasn't free these past 2 years. I just pretended to be. She cried, and this time I held her, letting all the tension of the last 2 years pour out through tears that had been held back for far too long. I woke up the next morning, and for a second thought last night had been a dream. Then I saw her asleep beside me in my bed for the first time in 2 years, and I understood it was real. She woke up and saw me watching her. Good morning, she said sleepily, smiling nervously. You're still here. Where else would I be? I smiled back. We both understood this was only the beginning of a long road. Trust broken by one argument doesn't repair itself in one night. It would take months of conversation, maybe actual couples counseling, a lot of patience with each other. Sofia had to decide whether she'd move back, or whether we'd build something long distance while I possibly moved to her. Her career, my job, our future, all of it needed to be discussed, compromised on, decided together. But for the first time in 2 years, we were standing in front of those questions together, not alone. 6 months have passed since Sofia showed up that rainy night. We haven't hidden anything from each other. That road hasn't been easy. There have been moments when the old fears reared their heads again. Once when Sofia stayed late at work without letting me know, I felt that familiar panic rise up, and instead of exploding into accusations, I forced myself to say, I got worried and honestly a little scared. Can you text me next time you're running late? She responded not with defensiveness, but with gratitude that I had voiced an emotion instead of an accusation. There was also a moment when Sofia was offered another project in a different city for a few weeks, and she felt that familiar panic, the fear that saying yes meant running from us again. But this time, she told me about that fear right away, instead of staying quiet or reacting sharply. We talked it through together, and she went on the project with my full support and came back to me 3 weeks later, instead of running for good. We decided to live together again. She transferred to her firm's branch here in Portland, keeping her career and her independence, but this time near me. We got married the following spring, in that same little courtyard outside the old brick church where I first heard her real story. People often ask me, Mark, how could you forgive 2 years of silence? How could you trust her again after she left? And I always give the same answer. Real love isn't love that never runs into obstacles. Real love is love that knows how to come back, to own its mistakes, to learn from the pain, and to build something stronger out of what almost shattered for good. Sofia taught me that love without freedom is a prison. And I hope I taught her that freedom without closeness is just another kind of loneliness. We both still carry our fears. She's still sometimes afraid of dependence. I'm still sometimes afraid of being left behind. But now, instead of staying silent or running, we talk. That doesn't make our love perfect, but makes it real. And when the rain hits our window in the evenings, Sofia and I sometimes just sit together, holding hands, remembering that soaked night she showed up on my porch, and think about how close we came to losing each other forever. But we didn't. Sometimes the most beautiful love stories aren't the ones without arguments. They're the ones where two people learn to find their way back to each other, despite the pain, despite the fear, despite everything trying to pull them apart. If you're still here, thank you for listening to my story. If it hit something in your heart, hit like and subscribe to the channel. There are a lot more love stories worth hearing coming your way.